Living alone is both a very liberating and frightening experience. On the one hand, it offers you unparalleled freedom and independence, allowing you to create your own routines and live life on your own terms. On the other hand, it certainly comes with its own set of challenges. First and foremost, let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, I'm talking about this little over here. Loneliness. So the $1 billion question, how not to feel lonely while living alone? Loneliness is a very complex emotional state that can be experienced by anybody, regardless of their own living situation. I personally lived on my own for almost 3 years. I basically relocated to another country at 22, and for almost 3 years, I lived completely on my own. I had a roommate for a while, but it didn't last for that long, and I am very familiar with living alone, and especially feeling lonely, as I am also an expat whose family is not in the country I'm currently living in. Before moving abroad, I always considered myself as a loner. I always really enjoyed spending time alone and enjoying my own solitude, but when I actually moved out of my mom's house for the first time, I was really struggling with loneliness. So I can assure you that this is something that everybody experiences at some point in their life. So the question here is how not to feel lonely while living alone. Well, first and foremost, you need a routine and a dog. Just kidding, you just need a routine. Get the dog as well. Routines are crucial for us human beings in order to feel stable, in control, and grounded. It is proven scientifically that routines give human beings a sense of stability, control, and structure to their lives. Executing a list of actions at the same time every day adds structure to your days, making you feel more in control, more stable, and overall just more disciplined. And if you're curious about my 5 a.m. morning routine, you can check the video out right here. And now, second tip on how not to feel lonely while living alone. Meet people! That's it, easy as this. This video is over. Bye. Just kidding, but also for real. As much as I love being alone and as much as I enjoy my own solitude and I'm a total introvert, and sometimes I think that I can totally just be by myself and I don't need anybody else in my life, honestly, I couldn't do it on my own. Like, I couldn't. Us humans, we are just all a huge collective community. So I really think that our society should really stop promoting hyper-independence so freaking much. It's generally not healthy for us to think that we can do it all alone, that we don't need anyone, especially us women with like feminism and all of that. We're taught that we don't need anybody, we can do it all on our own, we can be our own best friend, mother, father, sister, brother, lover, everything. We can do it all alone, but the truth of it is we can't, we just can't. Humans are social creatures, and our whole evolution and biology were designed to form bonds with other people in order to survive in packs and communities. So if you feel bad about feeling lonely while living alone, or if you're scared about feeling lonely when you're gonna live alone, meet people, meet up with your family members, meet your friends, organize programs, go to cafes, or if you're someone who just relocated to another country, make new friends. Also call people. This is something that helped me so much. Every time I'm doing a no-brain activity, every time I'm just doing the dishes or cleaning the toilet or cooking, I always try to call a family member, involving the people who are close to you in your living alone experience by telling them details about your furnitures, your decoration, the things you cook, makes living alone feel a lot less lonely. So just because you live alone now, it doesn't mean that you have to isolate yourself. And I know that it can be very hard once you get to a point where you feel comfortable even by yourself. It can be really hard to start going out again and putting on makeup and dressing up just to meet up with other people. And also people be freaking difficult too sometimes, but it's actually something that's very beneficial for your mental health. How not to feel lonely when you're being by yourself at home. Like at some point you have to come home and be by yourself. Like you cannot really escape yourself. Yeah. So here is the best remedy that I discovered to not feeling lonely when you're by yourself at home. It's feeling lonely. It's being lonely. It's embracing feeling lonely. In my opinion, we as humans spend so much time trying to come up with new ways to distract ourselves. We scroll hours and hours on social media, we message people all day long, we listen to music to drain out our thoughts, all in the attempt of trying to escape ourselves and trying to escape how we feel. And don't get me wrong here, I'm guilty of this too.
I do this all the time too, don't you worry.
We all do this, but at some point we just have to realize that we are going to spend the rest of our lives with ourselves. So for me personally, at some point it was really important to be okay with just being with me, with just being by myself. Me personally, at some point I just realized that I need to stop escaping and I need to start being okay with being alone and being just with me. Who am I when nobody's around? Who am I when it's just me, myself and I? And Fehér, of course, my little dear plushie that I got when I was 2 years old. He's always with me no matter what. Anyways, that's not the point. So how to stop feeling lonely when you're by yourself at home? Embrace the feeling. How does it feel to you? How does it feel in your body? What do you feel? Is it in your throat? Is it in your stomach? How does loneliness feel to you? Instead of feeling scared and frightened about the emotions in your body, try to be curious about them. Try to be like an explorer who is identifying them and observing them, and just be curious about your emotions. It has actually been proven by psychologists that the more you try to escape your feelings and the more you try to suppress your feelings, the more it can have adverse effects on your mental health and actually intensify your emotions over time. So it's very important for you, instead of trying to escape how you feel, to find healthy ways to cope with your emotions and to regulate your nervous system. So I'm gonna leave some links in the description box with videos that talk about emotional self-regulation and nervous system regulation if you're interested in the topic and if you want to live a healthy, balanced and calm lifestyle when you're living by yourself. Decorate, decorate, decorate. To be honest, this is something that I should have started doing so much earlier when I first moved out from home, because it just would have made my 3 years of living alone so much more agreeable and cozier. Decorating your own place is so important, because just think about what makes you attached to the house or the home that you grew up in. It's all the decoration, the pictures on the wall, the furniture, the pillows. It's all the items that you gathered all throughout the years. So you need to implement the same things now that you live alone in your new place. I know a lot of people, and I was one of them, when they first start living alone, they don't want to invest in things like furniture or decoration because they just have this mentality of,
well, I'm not gonna stay here for long anyways, so why bother buying furniture and decorations?
But honestly, life can be more unpredictable than you think, and sometimes you can end up living in a place for much longer than you initially thought that you would. So feel free to add pictures on the wall that reflects your personality, or buy pillows in your favorite color. Like, what do you think I'm doing here? Like, everything is freaking pink in this apartment. I can finally live out my pink dream, even though I live with my boyfriend. Don't tell him that. He has no choice. Also, one more thing, guys. Buy plants. Buy the damn plants. Like, having plants in your living space makes such a huge difference, and it just instantly makes your home feel a lot more lively and vital and alive. And I know what you're saying, like,
oh Nora, but I always kill my plants. I'm not that good at taking care of plants.
Then buy fake plants, or buy low maintenance plants like succulents or spider plants. Buying plants and decorating your own home to your own taste makes such a huge difference in your mood. So invest in your living space. Budgeting. Budgeting is crucial to make sure that you can cover your expenses, save money for the future, and avoid any unnecessary debt. So here are some steps to help you create and maintain a budget. First and foremost, assess your income. To do this, you can grab a pen and a paper, open a spreadsheet, and write down all your sources of income, whether it's your salary, freelance jobs, investments, or any other earnings that you have monthly. List your expenses. Start with your fixed expenses like your rent, utilities, insurance, and any loan payments that you may have that is always the same amount every single month. After this, you can move on to variable expenses such as groceries, transportation, entertainment, just things that vary depending on the month and depending on what you do that month. Now that you have your income and expenses listed, it's time to create a budget plan. Allocate your income to cover your fixed expenses and then then divide the remaining amount among variable expenses. It's also very important to leave some money for an emergency fund that covers at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Track your monthly spendings. To do this, you can do things like budgeting apps, creating a simple spreadsheet, or even use a good old spending journal with a pen and everything. Prioritize repaying your debts and saving for the future. If you have any bigger debts like a student loan or credit card, try to prioritize repaying them by allocating extra money for paying off those debts each month. And at the same time, I know it can be hard, but also try to save some money for the future on a different savings account. Even a $50 or $100 a month can go a long way. So try to think about saving as well. Also, don't be too rigid with your budget. I noticed that my spendings evolve over time, and this is why it's really useful to track your spendings, because sometimes you have to make some adjustments, sometimes you spend less, sometimes you have unexpected spendings. So just keep track of them, be flexible, make adjustments if you have to. Buy a toolkit and become self-reliant. Honestly, if you live alone at any age, you need to become self-reliant. And this is something that can be very challenging if you've been relying on other people to fix things around the house all your life, which is totally my case. I couldn't fix shit before I moved out of my mom's place. But one thing I learned, it's never too late to learn. There are many ways in which you can become more self-reliant, but probably the best thing that you can do is to buy a toolkit and learn how to repair minor things in your home. Learn how to unclog your sink, faucet, or replace the light bulb. This one is so vital. You can do this by watching YouTube tutorials or even just calling a family member and asking them. Now there are times, of course, when we actually need help from other people, and in that case you need to implement my next tip, which is create an emergency contact list. This one is crucial if you're gonna live by yourself, because in case of unexpected events or emergencies, having a list of safe contacts available will make sure that you receive correct help and support. First of all, identify your close contacts, meaning listing down the names and phone numbers of some people that you trust and who are likely to quickly respond in case of an emergency. So this could be like family members, friends, neighbors, or even your colleagues, but just make sure that these people are actually reliable. Reliable is the magic word. In addition to these close contacts, also make sure to include emergency service numbers, such as the local police department, medical services, aka the ambulance, utility companies such as electricity, gas, and water, which is gonna be extremely helpful in case of something like an electricity outage. Also make sure to add your personal medical information, such as your blood type, allergies, and a list of current medications that you take. Meet your neighbors and be nice to them. This is a very crucial and strategic step to living alone. I'm gonna explain why it's so important. Living alone can be a very scary and lonely experience, especially if you don't know anybody in your neighborhood, state, or even country. This is where your neighbors come in. There's just a certain feeling of safety and security and just a sense of belonging to a community when you know your neighbors and when you get along with them, especially in times of emergency or when you're away. Getting along with your neighbors and asking them to look after your property
or your plants
can be a huge help, and it can make you feel like you have someone to rely on. Having a good relationship with your neighbors is also very useful when somebody in your apartment building is doing something bad, or when there is just some disrespectful behavior going on, like for example listening to music too loud, making too much noise, or having house parties until 4 a.m. This happens way more often in France than you think. In these times of disturbance, you can either gang up with your neighbors and see what you can do together, or if they are the ones who are causing the disturbance, you can politely ask them to stop listening to music too damn loud. If you're planning on living alone, I hope that you found this video useful, and if you're curious about how I moved and settled down in France all by myself, make sure to watch this video next.